Hey, welcome to the All of You podcast.
We're your hosts. I'm Siobhan Roy.
And I'm Dave Martinell.
Our relationship hasn't always been easy. Especially in the beginning, we were getting in the worst conflicts that sent us down a path of deep healing and inner work in order to get the relationship that we wanted.
So whether you're on your own healing journey or just looking to improve your relationships overall, we hope that by sharing our lessons and struggles, we help you along your way.
And with that, welcome to the podcast where we accept all of you.
So this is the fourth attempt this week. 3.5, should we call it?
Is it 3.5?
3.5 attempt at recording. Yesterday I'll call it a half because we got halfway set up.
And then we didn't record?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we did record full 2 episodes and trash them.
Yes, we did that. I stand by those decisions. They were trash episodes.
They were trash. Yeah.
So we had to trash them.
And like some people might say like, oh, they might be authentic or like let us in on that side. They were trash. Trust us.
Yeah. No.
They were terrible. We had bad energy.
Bad energy.
Yeah. So then I was like, okay, to lean in and try to snap us out of this, let's do a podcast on bad energy. But then I thought about it even more and I was like, really what it was anxiety.
Yeah.
Anxiety, like in the movie
Inside Out 2?
Yeah, Inside Out 2, anxiety just comes in and gets the best of them. Is that the new emotion in that one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was sadness before and then like depression kind of. And then this one, gosh, that movie's so good.
It really is.
I wouldn't mind taking like 10 or 15 minutes on that movie right now. It's so good.
Well, I feel like I wish I would have we should have done that right after we watched it. I don't remember it well enough to give a full recap.
Yeah, maybe it'll come up.
But
throughout.
we could do a short episode soon on our
Inside
recap
Out.
of Inside Out 2.
Yeah, it was that good. I'd watch it again and then do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that.
We should bring the girls on the podcast. We should get the girls on the podcast.
That'd be awesome.
Inside Out 2.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
So fun. Yeah.
That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So anxiety just ruins everything. And we had anxiety, both of us for different reasons, I would say. But how was yours?
Well, you know how mine was. I was a mess. I was an absolute mess this week. Most of this week. Well, Monday through Wednesday, I was a hot mess express.
But you weren't bedridden the whole time. Like you weren't depressed.
No, I wasn't. So I would describe it as I was so stressed that I felt anxious, and my stress and anxiety was leading me to making poor decisions and decisions out of fear. And it was just kind of snowballing everything where I was being impulsive and making not as good decisions. And then I would be stressing more because I was making impulsive, poor decisions. And then it was just kind of on loop. And I think the example I give, which I actually can't believe I'm giving, is I felt so stressed that I didn't have, we're 4 weeks out from the wedding and I still have a few vendors we haven't hired. And I felt so stressed about that I was on main parent duty while you were building the deck. I was supposed to be watching the kids and making dinner. And I was so stressed that I justified in my mind telling you, hey, I need you to stop building the deck and I need you to make dinner because I need to book vendors for the wedding and it's absolutely a priority and I need to do it right now.
Yeah.
And you're a good man for actually doing that.
Yeah.
But like that was such...
I handled it okay. I did it, but I wasn't.
You weren't
You
stoked
came
on
and
it.
said like thank you at one point, and I kind of was like,
Annoyed.
"You're welcome."
Yeah.
And then we chatted about it, and I told you, I was like, I'm fine helping you if you need help, but the way that you went about it, and it like I felt like
It wasn't the best. I was
Yeah.
literally like, drop the hammer, put
Yeah.
away the saw right now. I need to book vendors.
Yeah.
Which was kind of ridiculous. Like it was impulsive. It was like very fear. You were
in
that's
your
what
fear.
it was. I was so in my fear that I was making decisions out of fear.
But isn't that what anxiety is?
Yes.
Like at the root, and I think that this is a controversial statement. At the root of anxiety is just your fear. And it's your fear running amok and causing you to believe that you need to solve something or do something immediately, take action immediately. You're in danger. Like I've said it before, there's a bear chasing you, it feels like, and you need to fight or flee or freeze, right? So your anxiety causes one of those reactions, and you end up making weird decisions out of
Very
anxiety.
weird. Yeah.
And we all do. And I think we have it wrong in our society. I think the word anxiety for a while, 10 years ago, if you were to ask me, what's anxiety? I would have told you it's a medical condition.
Mm-hmm.
I no longer believe that. Anxiety is a feeling that we all have. That's where it's a feeling. It's just an emotion. It's one of the 1,000 ranges of emotions we feel is anxiety. We all have anxiety. Now, when somebody is stuck in a state of anxiousness and stuck in anxiety, and I'm not a psychologist, but this is my opinion, and this is my podcast, so I get to say it. What I've learned, because I had really bad anxiety, and I went to a psychologist, and they put me on antidepressants, and I was convinced that I had a medical condition now of anxiety. And that wasn't helpful for me. It made it worse. Now I was anxious about my anxiety. I was anxious about this medical condition. I thought something was wrong with me. Whereas if I would have learned that it's a feeling and started to unpack, there was a lot of good reasons in my life at that moment why I would be anxious. 1,000. So I just need validation. I need somebody to validate and go, these are big decisions. You need to slow down and think about these decisions. Yes, they're big, but you can handle it. Like you're an adult. This is adulthood, basically. And I think a lot of people, when they grow up, if they weren't fully taught, if they weren't raised to be an adult and they are 25 or 30 years old and they didn't get... No one gets a perfect childhood, but if you didn't get some key tools, you're going to really struggle with anxiety because you weren't raised to face these big challenges that is adulthood.
Yeah, I think that's an important part. And I want to pause on that because prior to me going into this work, or really the work I've done on myself, I remember being in a class learning this and going, I am an adult. What are you talking about? Like, I've got a career. I have my own place. I bought my own car. Like, I am a fully functioning, capable adult. So what are you talking about? Like, that doesn't apply to me. And that's where the concept of arrested development comes in. And that's where things can happen in our childhood, typically some trauma of sorts that can wound us. And the age we are when we get wounded is where we stop developing. And that's what we're referring to of like, didn't get what you need as a child. So you're an adult child. It's not in general, you're this like Peter Pan. It's that some of your characteristics, qualities, tendencies, I don't know the exact term for it, are arrested in development to a younger age, and they haven't developed to the age you are now. And when that happens, you don't have the tools to handle all situations. And so learning the ways that we are all a little bit arrested in development is one way to help heal from anxiety. So just wanted to kind of touch on that.
The key to being an adult isn't having a good career, having money, having a house, having this, that, all that can fade away. The key to being an adult is owning your decisions, ownership, accountability, it's characteristics in emotional regulation. And if you have an adult who's of age but can't handle all the feelings inside their body, they're going to act like a child. So I don't mean to like derail us on just this podcast, this episode being fully about emotional maturity, but I think that's what a lot of anxiety is. Anxiety is one of the most difficult emotions. Mm-hmm. It's so painful, and it's so difficult because your mind is playing tricks on you, and you have to override your subconscious. And that's really, really difficult to do. So when you are an adult and you don't have the ability to face your own anxious thoughts, you end up in a state where you act like a child, because that anxiety can make you become a child. That's why we have adults that will go into a grocery store and literally start yelling at the cashier because something triggered them. Or we were at the beach and we saw a full-on fight of two adults, this female in one family and a male in another. It was a
mom of one family and a dad in another family. Kids present for this all-out screaming
match across the beach, like 20, 25 feet away from each other, screaming. All the other families and people around were like looking at us. It was
fascinating. I actually have to just say this. Yeah. It was so fascinating because I watched the whole thing unfold, and it was basically the mom was mad because her child got wet by the other kid at the beach.
Yeah, near the water.
The dad near the water. And then the dad was like defending his son. And it escalated to the point where the mom of one family was screaming on the beach that dad was probably beats his wife.
Yeah.
And then the wife is sitting next to the dad and is like, my husband doesn't beat me. And I'm like, what in the world? This is like...
it's sad. It's like we're laughing, and it was funny for us a little bit to observe, but because we talk so much about this stuff. But there are plenty of moments that somebody could have caught in me and could catch me in where I'm not my best and I'm in a state of anxiety, or I'm triggered and I'm saying something I shouldn't be saying. And we are all capable of that. And it's sad. It's actually really sad to see an adult acting like a child. What's happening, from my point of view, is they're not in a dangerous situation. They are safe. There is no bear. But they're acting as if they're really unsafe. So they're in a grocery store, nothing's happening, and all of a sudden they're wigging out, acting really unsafe. The most dramatic, my analogies always go to like really the most dramatic part. If you watch people with really like schizophrenia type, it looks to me like severe anxiety, like the severest form of just anxiety. They look like they feel unsafe in there. I remember in San Francisco one time I was sitting there. I don't know if you were with me or if I was with Derek, but we were sitting there and this woman was yelling at us from across the street. It might have been with you. And like just screaming at us, like why, like, and we weren't doing anything. We weren't unsafe. We weren't treating her unkindly. She just was unwell, and that seems like the same thing to me. It's just the very far side of the spectrum.
Yeah, and maybe not just anxiety, but other. Yeah, I guess it could be.
Well, I just think like if I'm, and I don't know, this is just my own intuition saying that if I let my brain lean into my anxiety and listen to my fears, that's the severe outcome. Now, I get that that's a really far stretch to get there, but I don't want to take that risk.
Well, I can see some of that. My personal take is those that struggle that severely with mental health issues that are unhoused. I personally believe, and again, my opinion, that it's not just anxiety, but it's wounds that are all unhealed on very severe levels. And then because of those wounds, those are where people act out from. Like either you're trying to avoid your pain, not like your pain gets triggered, you're replaying traumatic events from the past in your mind or your subconscious is. Like, I think a lot of it comes from things that have happened to them. I think the likelihood of someone who had a really healthy, stable, warm, loving childhood ending up with, like, yes, there are some genetic predispositions, but I think it's less likely than someone who had a really traumatic childhood with abuse, neglect, and carries a lot of wounds from it, is more likely to have mental health issues because of how trauma is stored in your body and is therefore impacting your mind as well. So I think,
Yeah,
like, I don't think it's just like anxiety is the gateway drug. I think it's trauma unhealed can create, like, that is the outcome of that.
a lot of people end up committing suicide first before it gets to that point. It's like mental illness. Like some people, make it to that point of that poor of mental illness. But a lot of people, like for me, when I was at my worst, the suicidal thoughts were there because I would rather have gone out that way than than be this total shell of a human, to your anxiety. But that's where, like, I don't know if I'm right, but I do know that I've let my mind get so poor that I've seen the other side, I feel like. And I don't know anyone else. I've only ever lived in this body, so I can only explain my inner world and my experience in hopes to relate to other humans and check in and be like, is that your experience too? Or did I experience something different than you? I don't know. Like, you've had bad anxiety this week. Was that the same as the anxiety that I've had, or was mine worse? I don't know. Like, I don't know how to compare it. All I can say is that when I was at my worst and I leaned into my anxiety, I could see it. I could see the pathway there. I don't know. I just don't think a lot of people are willing to admit that, because it is scary to admit in the relationship to how it's diagnosed. When you admit that, and when we speak out about that, the society norm is to say, well, there's probably something wrong with you. You got to screw loose. Like, basically, maybe your genetic disposition is not right. And I'm saying, no, because I'm as mentally healthy as I've ever been in my life now. And I can say it from this place, but I can remember what it was like there. So it's like I've been in both. I've been in a really such a poor mental state and such a healthy mental state, where I can see so clearly, and so I can communicate the difference. All I can say is just my experience, and it was frantic. It was alarming. It was I don't know what I could have done. It was I wasn't in control. My anxiety was like the movie Inside Out. My anxiety was making the decisions, and they were odd. They just get odder and odder and odder, and I have friends that could probably speak to it who witnessed it, and we're like, yeah, Dave was like not Dave.
So I want to go into that more because I think that is relatable, and I think could help those that are in the more frantic side. What was it that moved you from that place of deep anxiety and frantic and impulsive into a healthier state? How did you go from rock bottom to where you are now?
Years.
But
Years,
time,
not
time
days.
is not a healer, so
Yeah,
I need more.
Yeah, but I say that to say I don't know. There's no light switch.
Yeah, I 1,000% agree with you. But can you take us, like, this is our podcast. We've got time. Take us on that journey. Like, what were the babies? Where were you? What were the baby steps? And maybe some of the significant milestones that helped you along that way, and kind of talk to me about that.
Okay.
That 3-year road.
So in the state of anxiety, I was, the facts are that I was trying to run from my pain, and I wanted to feel better. And so you do things that make you feel better, which is maybe try to date to feel better or distract yourself. Try to seek external validation in some way. You maybe lean into drugs or alcohol more. My choice was alcohol. I would drink a lot, and I didn't know those things were wrong because society, those things are somewhat acceptable. I think there's a lot of people walking around with anxiety, and to the point where it's just become normal to cope and justify it.
Yeah, I think the biggest way I see that is mommy culture. Like, mommy needs a drink.
Yeah,
Yeah,
mommy needs her wine.
No, mommy needs a support in a village.
Yeah,
to help her. Not
mommy
wine.
needs to know how to express her needs and communicate to the husband what help she needs, and they need to be a team so that they can maybe make the sacrifices, sell the nice truck to get some daycare. I don't know,
lots of things. I don't want to wind us down that one, but
I could go on about that one.
Yeah,
but mommy needs support.
Yeah,
mommy needs support, and daddy does too. And how do you figure that out? So I was in a state where it was just so painful, and I didn't know I wasn't willing to admit to myself the pain. So you're running from something that you're denying is there. And when you deny your pain and you deny that you're in pain, you don't know you're running. You think that you like it. You think you like being drunk all the time because drinking is cool, and you like this beer, and you drink these IPAs, or you drink this whiskey, and you justify it in your mind, and it becomes a part of your identity, and your running from your pain actually does become part of your identity. And you can use anything. You can use healthy things too to run from pain. But it's just really hard to admit you're in a state of anxiety. But what the funny thing is about anxiety, or, this negative energy we carry, like we were talking about this as we had it this week, which we'll go back to, is when you have negative energy, it's not that you need to snap out of it. When you have anxiety, it's not that you need to suppress it. It's not something to get rid of. It's something to feel and clear out. Like if you're in line at the grocery store and you want to buy this item and the line is really long, there's no way to speed it up. You just have to wait in line and get through the line to purchase the item, or else you don't get the item. If you want to clear your anxiety, you don't get to drop the item and walk out the door. You don't get to run from it. You have to wait and sit with it and pay attention to it and figure out what it is and solve the math problem in your brain that equals anxiety. It's like, so you're a mom of 3 and you're stressed all the time and you're not getting any sleep and you don't have support in your life and you have anxiety about that. Of course you do. There's a math problem there to solve. It's, do you need more support? Like what, like this plus this plus this equals an anxious person. And there is things you can do and there's things there's things you have to accept and let go of. So what could be causing your anxiety is that all your friends don't have any kids and they're traveling and they're posting photos of them all over the world and you're just so jealous. You don't want to be living the life you're living, but you made these choices, so you're here, and that's a math problem. So going inward, so the process of clearing anxiety is like doing the work. It's waiting in line. There's no other way around it. You have to face what the anxiety is and then find out why you're there. Like,
Yeah. I like to look at it as really all emotions that we feel is little messengers in our body.
yeah.
And anxiety is a messenger. It's telling us something. So when we have anxiety, it's important to listen and go, why? Where is this coming from? It's not happening for no reason at all. And I think that's the important part, is figuring out where it's coming from. And I think that it can be really easy and situational. Like, I know that my anxiety this week came from our wedding being 4 weeks away and not having enough booked, and our house is our venue and our house is not finished. And my anxiety was coming from the thought of people showing up and us really not having a wedding ready, right? So like mine was like, okay, that's a situational one, and I need to ground myself in the truth, in reality, and like break down all of my fearful thoughts and then replace them with truthful ones, right? So like situationally a little bit easier to handle. But then I think when people have more like chronic anxiety, that's a messenger telling you something that's a little bit deeper. And that's the one you have to sit with and can take a little bit longer to figure out what you actually need.
Yeah, and that's where the medical condition gets defined, when you're when you have chronic anxiety. But maybe that is ingrained from you as a child. Maybe you've always had it. And so when you've always had it, you don't know different. And that was kind of me. Like, yeah. I always had that anxiety. So I never knew if somebody was like, do you have anxiety? I'm like, no, I seem really chill. I don't show emotion on my sleeve very well. I hide it almost better than anyone if I really want to. But there was a point where it got so bad that I had to address it. And I had to admit, like, oh, that happened. Like, I had a mental breakdown. Basically, I had a mental breakdown over the course of years. And there was a lot of things that triggered it. And there was a lot going on in my life. And I was really high stress. I had put myself in really high stress situations. And
was this like right after the divorce?
Yeah, like towards the, like even before it to there's probably a 5-year span there, but I was drinking a lot, so alcohol doesn't help the situation either. I was just looking to escape. I basically wanted to escape my life. I wanted to escape being me. I wanted to be different than how I was. And I didn't know that. I thought that's how everyone felt. I thought everyone wanted to be different. I thought everyone wanted more and I didn't realize contentment existed. Like I didn't know that feeling of true contentment. And so, that's anxiety. Like when you're trying to run from who you are, when you're trying to change your circumstances so that you look different, or you're so concerned with the perspectives of others that you want your life to look different, or you want to craft how you show up in the world to please others or things like that. You're not being aligned with your intuition. You're not being yourself. You don't even know who you are. It's really tough. Life is really, really hard in that state because you're battling your mind all the time. Your mind is constantly telling you, do this, do that. This is going to be better than that. You're not enough. You if you did this, you'd be so much cooler. You'd be so much better. You need to make more money. You need to travel more. You need to this. You need to that. And then take social media that entered our existence when I was 21. All of a sudden, social media popped up and everyone had smartphones. I didn't know how to handle that. I was already a dude struggling with perception and anxiety. And then, you're looking at, okay, this is cool. That's cool. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. And it just ran me to the ground. And I didn't know who I was. And so, I'm thankful that eventually I had to face it and go, oh, this is me. And this is what I like or don't like. And I'm still learning it. This is only, I'm probably 5 years into this journey of really self-discovery, and dating you and going through what we went through really helped even provide a safe place to go further and deeper into some of those wounds that I had. So, yeah, I'm fortunate to be here, but I think you asked what that journey looks like, and I didn't describe it super well. I kind of just gave a bunch of analogies, but
it's funny you say that, because I was actually going to tell you that and tell you that I want you to go a little bit more into it.
Yeah, I think I wasn't trying to avoid it. I think it's just hard to describe. And so I guess I'll say, like, the description inside of my body, inside of my mind at the time when I was in anxiety was that I truly didn't want to be here. Like I wasn't enjoying my experience as a human. I wasn't enjoying the human experience. It was more stressful than it was fun or positive, even though I was doing a lot of fun things. In a lot of ways, I was doing more considered fun things then than I do now. We don't really do as much fun as we thought, because we don't need it as much because we are fun. Like I don't know. I had fun last night, like laughing with you. And so I wasn't having fun. I wasn't enjoying my experience, and my thoughts in my brain, the narrative in my brain was so like ruminating thoughts, uncontrollable thoughts. My self-talk was we've tried to do so many episodes on self-talk and can't seem to describe it well, but the internal narrative that I had was, the best way I can articulate it is, it was involuntarily, I'm looking for a word, it was invasive. It was my thoughts, and the thoughts in my mind were subconscious, and they were forced on me. They weren't chosen. I didn't have a filter for my thoughts. I couldn't choose the thoughts I think.
Intrusive, is that the word you want?
They were intrusive, yeah. And so I felt like a victim to my mind, not in control of my mind. And this is why any mindset mentor out there will teach you hopefully any good one will teach you how to control the thoughts in your brain and how to choose what you think each day, not be not be subjected to them. Because I can think negative thoughts still. My brain still produces a lot of the same thoughts. I just subscribe or don't subscribe now. And that mental muscle literally is the difference between listening, like inside out. Which emotion are you listening to? But anxiety can scream so loud, and it puts you in a state where it literally locks every other emotion up, and you're in a constant state of fear. You're in such a state of fear, you might act like you're laughing because your anxiety tells you to laugh to fit in, but you're not actually laughing. It's not authentic. It doesn't build an authentic human. It builds a people-pleasing. It can build any type of human. Anxiety can build any type of human. It's whatever the anxiety thinks you're afraid of, and then your fear is just running yourself, and it's in control. And fear cannot really exist with love. And I believe the only thing that can truly put a nail in the coffin of anxiety is love. And
how so?
Because love just trumps all other things. That was just my experience. For me.
But what kind of love? Like
love of just love. Like, love is egoless. Love is caring about the way other people feel. It's seeing the other side. It's not trying to control a narrative or trying to be right. It's selfless. So in the selfless love, and not selfless, see, anxiety can make you do crazy things like, I'm going to be selfless so that I get this back, right? So you can still show up in a relationship, and this is the tricky part in dating or choosing someone. They can be really selfless and look like they love you, but really their motivation is to get what they want in the long term. And so that's not real love. Real love is like, I love you because I want to be loving. I care about you. I want you to have a good experience here on this planet, and I want to support you in that and help you achieve those goals despite what it means for me. I'm not thinking about me. I'm not even concerned with myself because I have enough love inside of me that I can pour it back into me at any time I want to. So if all of a sudden you decide not to love me anymore, I'm not as anxious or scared about that, because guess what? Okay, I'll just take the love I give you and pour it back into me, and I'll be okay. I would be bummed. It would suck. Like, I love you, and you're my best friend, but I'm not. Love is just so powerful when you can find it, you know? I don't know. It's hard to explain when you don't know. I wouldn't know how to explain it to myself. But at that point in time, the best thing I could say is I was a slave to my mind, and the mind ran such amok that, you know, like how, like when we're talking to the girls, or I don't know if anyone has this experience as a kid where they can feel their mind expanding in knowledge. Like all of a sudden you don't really understand multiplication and you don't understand the concept of it. But now you finally click the concept.
It's like an aha moment.
An aha moment, yeah. It took several, like not even several, like thousands of aha moments the last 5 years for me to be the human I am today. Anyone that's met me the last 3 years doesn't know who, like, you're not looking at the same guy. Like, I'm sorry. It's just it's not even close to the same human, because I had to grow up. I had to face so many demons, and I feel the same. I look the same, but it just, I'll ask you, the first 6 months we were dating, how bad was my anxiety?
So gnarly.
There was times where my pant size dropped like 2 sizes.
Mm-hmm.
I looked visibly skinny.
Yeah.
Could you imagine that happened to me today?
I think I'd be more concerned if it happened now because of how many tools you have and how much you've learned and how much you've grown. I'd be like, how are we going back so far? But no, yeah, I can't see that happening today. And it was alarming then, but where I was at that time wasn't at the level of awareness that I'm at now for me to raise the red flag as much as I should have.
Yeah, you didn't even know what was happening to me. But I had such bad anxiety like around our 6-month mark or maybe 5-month mark. And I wasn't necessarily taking it out on you, because I had dealt with it before, but I was visibly unwell at times. And
I think that was around, correct me if I'm wrong, the same time where I told you needed to get help.
Yeah.
And if I didn't see things getting better, we were breaking up.
Yep.
And then we did break up.
For a month, yeah.
Mm-hmm. While you were getting help.
Yeah, and I had already been dealing with it.
And you had been doing it.
I had been dealing with it for like 2 to 3 years at this point. And it still was a demon that I was facing. And not to say that I've fully faced it or I'm all healed. I think it's an ongoing journey, but I definitely have learned. I've had so many aha moments that have taken me to this journey. So I think that's the experience. It's storing those tools in your tool belt and then using them and creating those new neural pathways to go, when this happens, I choose this. I choose to do this. So I don't spiral. I don't allow my brain to spiral when I'm financially triggered. I have affirmations I can say in my mind. I have strength. I have me. And I'm a lot. The resource
I know it.
The resource of you, if you put all your energy in one direction to do one thing, you can do anything you want. If somebody wants to make a ton of money, they can make a ton of money. Like if that's their one thing that they choose, like you can do anything you want to do if you put all your energy towards it. But you're going to have to let go of some things. But I'm at the point now where like if there's something that's causing me a lot of anxiety, I face the problem, I let go of what I need to and move on. And like you just learn how capable you are.
Yeah, I think if I were to sum up a little bit of what you said, the reason it's a multi-year journey is simply because there is not a quick fix when it comes to anxiety. And each person has to go on their individual journey to figure out what's going on within them and start to heal and learn and rewire neural pathways. And no one's anxiety is identical to the next person because no one's life experience is identical to the next person. So what you need to do to take care of you is going to look different than what I needed to do to take care of me. And so I think at the root of what we're saying here is it is possible to heal from a lot of the anxieties that chronically plague your mind and the intrusive thoughts. It doesn't happen overnight, but you are a testament of rising from rock bottom. And so if you can do it, others can do it, but there isn't a magic pill. It's a one step at a time. Start by getting help and slowly unpacking. And you can arrive at a place where you will feel so much better, so much lighter, but it is a journey of 1,000 steps.
Yeah. And I think for me, anxiety, I want to describe a little bit like what it feels like and where my anxiety, maybe you could do the same for you. Mm-hmm. But for me, anxiety feels like my throat closes up and I feel this like just tightness in my throat. it's always in my throat. Like, I don't know if it's the thyroid or what. It's just like this tightness in the throat. And so I can feel it now. I've developed this awareness to where I can feel anxiety start to come on. And so then now I've worked with it so much that I go, oh, that's my anxiety. What am I anxious about? Instead of it boiling for days and days and days and ruminating thoughts happening and I don't really know the problem, I can feel it come up pretty quickly. And I go, what am I anxious about? And for me, it's usually time. It's usually time, or I'm not going to hit a goal, or it comes a lot around stuff like that for me. And so I go, okay. And then I reality check. I bring myself back to reality quick, and I counter all the ruminating thoughts with reality checks. And I've spent so much time grounding myself on what I know to be true that my anxiety has a harder time creeping in and lying to me. But if you don't ground yourself in truth, your anxiety can spin you quickly. So that's what I would say, like somebody who is more grounded and isn't going to be as susceptible to anxiety is somebody that's really grounded in their truth, in the things they know to be true, and about themselves, like about your own life. Like, I have X amount in the bank account. So when my anxiety tells me that I'm not going to be able to eat or that I'm financially poor, I know I checked my bank account this morning. I have this, like, or whatever it is, or I'm not going to be where I want to be in 20 years. It's like, well, I can't worry about that. The best thing I can do now to help myself get to where I want to be in 20 years is do the thing I need to do today. And that's all I can control. So then I have that reality check. So it's like, I feel the feeling in my body. I feel it come up. I address it. And then it's kind of gone. Now that's fast forward to me now, how I deal with it. But back then it would just stir me crazy for days and days and days, or maybe losing sleep, and then as you lose sleep, it's a downward spiral because you're not as strong, your mind isn't as fresh, and then you think you need to work harder or do more, but then you don't take care of yourself and your mind, and then your mind is weaker, and that's how you lose mental health. Your mind gets weaker and you can't fight the battle, and you think you need to do these things to help yourself, but it's really not the real things that you need to do. And it's just tough. It's a really hard battle to face, and anyone who experiences severe anxiety, I don't want to discredit them and say they don't have a medical condition, but I think my belief is, from my experience, that until I addressed my lack of mental control, my anxiety was never going to go away.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think we both probably take just a little bit more of a holistic approach to medicine. And I would say I take more of a root cause approach. My belief is that symptoms are messengers from the body, whether that's like you have diarrhea constantly, like maybe you're super stressed. Maybe it's, like your body's telling you something through your symptoms. And I think emotionally that's also true, that our depression and our anxiety, if you go inward deep enough, there is typically a root cause where it's coming from. And the excavation process of finding that root cause is often scary and very painful, and choosing to not, I can understand why anyone would choose to not go on the journey of finding the root cause, because it's a lot harder of a journey. But for me, there's just not really an alternative option.
Well, the ego doesn't like it. The ego creates a story to protect ourselves, and then it hurts to face the truth. But that's where anxiety starts to create like a fake human. a pseudo human, where your anxiety is taking over, it's taking the reins, cutting off all your other feelings, and it's navigating you in as this kind of ego story, and you become the ego story, not the real human. The real human has to accept every part of their story and have grace and compassion on them, on yourself, and self-acceptance.
Which is literally the message of all of you.
Yeah, accept
why
all
we
of
name
you.
our podcast All of You is that
face
reason.
every single thing. Like, I accept all the bad that I've done as well, you know? And I'm not like a murderer or a rapist or something like that has done really bad things. But even those people, like they have to somehow accept what they've done and face the music. We as a society need to understand that we are so capable of hurting each other. It's unreal how much we can hurt each other. I could hurt you so easily by things I say, things I do, and to steward that well, I have to realize that it's possible. We don't mean to hurt each other, but we're very capable of it.
Yeah, my ego hates admitting that.
Yeah,
the worst, the thing my ego hates more than anything is accepting that I hurt people I love. And I have had to come to terms with that, but I still, like, consciously I can say that to you, but you could very clearly vouch that even in the moment when I do something that hurts you, I still am like, oh, it's so hard to admit because I want to believe better of myself. I think that's one of the hardest things I've had to accept, that we all have to accept, but I have to accept. And I hate it.
Yeah, and ego death would serve you well.
I know.
It sucks, but it's true. And, just get back to, like, I know we're probably finishing up, but our anxiety ran pretty rampant. We always use that word, rampant. I need another term for that.
It just did. It ran rampant. There's no other way to say it.
Yeah, it was very, it caused us to sit down to try to podcast, and we just didn't have the juice in us, and it just makes you a shell of yourself. And I don't know, maybe this is a somber episode, but
I think it's somber, but also we all have the emotion of anxiety.
Yeah. And if someone is struggling with anxiety to the point where it's crippling them, or if you think that it might be hindering you in any way, please reach out to someone. Like, I could not have gotten through it without help.
Yeah,
there was no way I would, the journey to being the human I am today, which feels better, sleeps better, doesn't need to cope as much, and I still struggle with things, but I'm not near as weak-minded as I was, and I could never have gotten here without help. There's just no way I was going to be able to figure it out on my own.
Which, again, the ego likes to tell us we can, but ultimately, the journey of 1,000 steps requires you take the first step. Yep. So if you're struggling with it, take the first step into getting help. And that can look like a lot of things for a lot of people. There's so many modalities and things that can help.
Yeah, for sure. Love you.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.